Part 82. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 811. Hearing Wang Feng's words, Gao's Hixing opened his mouth, as if he wanted to say something, but in the end he said nothing. He also thought it through. Anyway, this matter was discovered by Wang Feng, and now Wang Feng has taken the responsibility. Then just let him handle everything. Even if Wang Feng intends to poke a hole in the mother planet this time, it has nothing to do with him. At worst, he, Gao's Hixing, will simply quit the position of Supreme Speaker and follow Wang Feng to the primitive star to hang out. Although he knows the danger, Gao's Hixing is so old, especially because he is in a high position. On the mother planet, where has he not been? What delicious food has he not eaten? What fun things has he not played? For him, the mother planet is almost a back garden, so Gao's Hixing can no longer find any passion on the mother planet. In this case, why not go out and visit the legendary birthplace of the human race, the first planet in the universe, and maybe you can get some opportunities. To be honest, when Gao's Hixing met Wang Feng, what he hoped most was to let Wang Feng extend his life. After all, he is already an old man, and old people basically have a fear of death. What they fear is not real death, but because they know that they don't have much time left, and living one day less is one day less. This kind of mood is the biggest pressure for the elderly. Now that he has got the life he wants, Gao's Hixing doesn't care much. This may be that what you can't get is the best. Especially after listening to Wang Feng's experience, whether it is zombies or the end of the world, as well as the Devourer and the Cosmic Ghost, and even the space war in the universe. All of this makes Gao's Hixing fascinated. He feels that compared with Wang Feng, he has lived in vain for decades, and the sum of his lives is not as exciting as Wang Feng's life in just a few years. The surprises in life come from accidents. Living step by step will gradually make people accustomed to the ordinary. Although Gao's Hixing is now the most distinguished person on the mother planet, he can't be described as ordinary in any way. But he still feels that his life is actually similar to that of some insects. He repeats the same things all day long, and the route he walks every day is basically fixed. He even feels that the difference between him and ants is that he walks longer every day than ants and eats more food every day than ants. In Wang Feng's eyes, perhaps he, the Supreme Speaker, is really no different from an ant. Especially in dealing with this matter, he still has to be cautious and consider a lot of aspects. And Wang Feng obviously doesn't care about what others say, at least he thinks he is doing the right thing, so he does it. Gao's Hixing suddenly envies Wang Feng now, so he waved his hand to call the high-level officials of the Free Alliance, and after telling them what Wang Feng meant, he directly asked them to do it. Originally, Gao's Hixing had considerable say in the Supreme Council. After being strengthened by Wang Feng, he became the most powerful human on this mother planet. Especially now that he has a very close relationship with Wang Feng, the Supreme Council of the Free Alliance has become Gao's Hixing's one-man show. Wang Feng did not think there was anything wrong with this phenomenon, because the country he founded was also an imperial system. After arranging all the things, Gao's Hixing came to Wang Feng again and said with a smile, "I have done everything I should do. Next, please start your performance." Haha. Performance. Wang Feng shook his head and smiled bitterly. Alas. Gao's Hixing followed Wang Feng's gaze and found that Wang Feng was looking at those who had become zombies, with a somewhat gloomy look. Wang Feng is now facing a big problem for him, that is, how to deal with these people. In the former Black Wolf camp, Wang Feng killed those who were like them directly because they could not be saved. At that time, Wang Feng only had the function of apocalypse. Although he could restore their bodies, he could not awaken their self-enclosed consciousness due to fear and despair. But now, Wang Feng is fully capable of saving them. Even number 7 can awaken the self-enclosed consciousness of these people. But now Wang Feng is thinking about whether he should do this. It is very simple to awaken their consciousness. I believe that after they wake up and learn that the Mulia tribe has received the retribution they deserve, they will also cheer for a short time. But what about the future? Can they forget the experiences they have experienced, which are more terrible than death? They will wake up from their dreams countless times. Life is just torture for them. Just like Qiu Jian chose to kill his beloved girlfriend directly, never awaken their consciousness again, so that they don't have to experience that painful memory again, maybe it is the most merciful ending for them. In fact, awakening them and having their blood and tears accusation will be of great help to Wang Feng's upcoming plan. But Wang Feng does not intend to use these people. In his opinion, they are more miserable than zombies. However, in the Black Wolf camp, it was because they were in the end of the world, and there was no burden to kill those people directly. But it's different now. They are now in a civilized world, their home planet. Perhaps these people have parents and relatives, and their families may still not give up looking for them. Because they are just missing persons now, maybe their families have not given up hope of finding them. If he did this, Wang Feng didn't know how he would answer when faced with questions from his family in the future. Wang. They are self-isolating. It's not your fault that you can't save them. Gau's Hixing looked at those people with the same sad expression. He patted Wang Feng on the shoulder and said, "No." Wang Feng shook his head gently. "I can make them recover and even become normal people as strong as you." Seeing Gau's Hixing's shocked expression, Wang Feng smiled bitterly again. "But, I can only awaken their consciousness, but I can't erase their memory. Do you really think that waking them up again will be a good thing for them? Just now, from the mouths of those Mulia people, I think you already know what they have experienced. From those descriptions, you may already feel horrified, but I can tell you, what they experienced can only be worse than that. For people who have experienced this, how long does it take for them to get over those dark days? 10 years? 20 years? Or, a lifetime? If they never get out of that shadow, what's the use of awakening their consciousness? This kind of shadow will be more difficult to cure than the battlefield syndrome suffered by veterans who have been on the battlefield. Think about it. What kind of experience would make them choose to close their souls and say goodbye to this world when they are unable to commit suicide? That. Gau's Hixing was stunned. He also figured out the key to this. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. "Lao Mang. What do you think?" Wang Feng turned around and asked Meng Fei. "I have no idea." Meng Fei shook his head. "However, I think we can at least notify their families first and let their families decide whether to wake them up." He. Wang Feng shook his head. "I think that the only person who is qualified to decide whether a person's life should continue is himself. But now we have no way of knowing what they mean, so, it's a dead end." "Oh. Forget it." Wang Feng suddenly sighed and said, "Lao Gao, go check on the families of these people. If there are any who are still struggling to find them, bring their families over. If you think they are dead, then there is no need to notify you for the time being. Wait. Etc." Lu Wanting suddenly interrupted Wang Feng's words at this time. She was also one of the participants in this matter from beginning to end, so naturally she was quite clear about the beginning and end of this matter. In particular, Lu Wanting had personally experienced this kind of thing in the Black Wolf camp before. As a girl, she couldn't let herself watch such a person being humanely destroyed in front of her eyes again. "Wind. Can't you not wake them up first, but just use your consciousness to communicate with them and ask them for their opinions?" Hearing Lu Wanting's words, Wang Feng was stunned for a moment, then smiled bitterly and shook his head. "No. Once I communicate with their consciousness, I will wake them up directly, just like waking up a sleeping person. I have no way to communicate with them while their consciousness is sleeping. I don't even dare to sense their current emotions for fear of accidentally waking them up. Alas! After all, we have had too little contact with consciousness before. Wang Feng shook his head. Feng, you have little contact with consciousness, but there is a person who is quite good at this kind of communication. Lu Wanting's eyes suddenly lit up. Huh? That's right. Number 7. After hearing Lu Wanting's words, Wang Feng suddenly realized that he had never used consciousness communication before. But the devourers are born to communicate in this way. If they can't do anything about it, it doesn't mean that the devourers can't do it either. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 812. After hearing Lu Wanting's words, Wang Feng suddenly woke up and immediately started calling number 7 in his heart. After arriving at the home planet, Wang Feng released number 7 and Shami San Xiao and let them wander around as they pleased. Number 7 is because he has been in a bad mood since instructor Li Yingning disappeared, so Wang Feng asked him to go and relax by himself, because with people like himself around who know his true identity, he will always be reminded of his identity as a devourer. And letting him go out by himself might make him feel more relaxed. As for the third little killer, Wang Feng followed the original agreement between him and their leader. Now that he has arrived on the home planet, the third little killer can choose to live here. Although Xiaomi San Xiao will be by his side and will be a big help after arriving at the primordial star. However, Wang Feng does not want to force it. They like the mother star, so they can stay on the mother star. If they want to follow them, then that is okay. However, although these 4 people do not know where they are on their home planet now, Wang Feng can communicate with them directly through his own consciousness. However, this communication is very weak and can only let them know what he wants. Just want to see them. But for the current situation, this level is enough. Wang Feng did not contact number 3 Xiao, but only summoned number 7. Of course number 7 would not refuse Wang Feng's call, but he didn't have a fighter plane, so he just sent his location to Wang Feng. Wang Feng directly flew the fighter plane and picked up number 7, and then explained the situation to number 7. That's about it? I wonder if you can communicate with them without awakening their consciousness. Wang Feng finally asked. This, I can do it. Number 7 hesitated for a moment, then walked up to a man with a dull face, and directly used his consciousness to connect with him. After a while, number 7 turned around. Madman. He would like us to wake him up, but... Looking at No 7's expression, Wang Feng frowned. But what? I don't feel that there is any business in his consciousness. I think he probably just wants to see the fate of the Mulia people, and then, he will still kill himself. What number 7 didn't say was that after exploring this person's consciousness, he already fully understood everything this person had experienced. Wang Feng was right. What they learned from the Mulia people was only part of what they encountered, and what they really encountered was 100 times more terrifying than what the Mulia people said. Even number 7, a guy who originally did not belong to humans and regarded humans as food, now actually has hatred in his heart towards those Mulia people. Wang Feng and Gao's Hixing looked at each other, and then Wang Feng sighed, stepped forward, and woke up the person who had communicated with number 7 before. Since this was his own choice, Wang Feng would make it happen. Even if he knew it, even if he saved him, he would end his life very quickly. The man's originally sluggish expression slowly recovered, and his eyes glowed again. When he saw the situation in front of him, even though he was mentally prepared, when he saw the road leading to Mulia, when I saw the chain bridge in the village, I still shuddered. This person is a male, probably due to habit, so number 7 chose a man as his first object to awaken. When his eyes turned to Wang Feng and the others, the man finally let out a heart-rending scream. Sir Speaker! You are finally here. Then, the man knelt on the ground with a plop, and his head hit the ground hard. "Sir Speaker, those people from Mulia are all devils. Please eradicate them all. Even if I die, I will always be grateful to you." Obviously, this man mistakenly thought that the situation in front of him meant that they had just arrived at Mulia village and were preparing to attack them. Wang Feng, on the other hand, was naturally ignored by this man. In his eyes, he only had Gauss Hixing, the Supreme Speaker of the Freedom Alliance Parliament. As a resident of the home planet, there is probably no one who does not know Gauss Hixing. Wang Feng was not unhappy at being ignored by this man. He walked forward, grabbed the man's shoulders, and lifted him up. "You don't need to beg. Although those Mulia people are not dead. But there is no way to threaten anyone anymore. Not dead." The man's face instantly turned ferocious, and he roared. "Why didn't they die? Isn't even a death sentence enough for what they did?" Wang Feng didn't waste any time and threw the man into the fighter plane. Then, he took him back to the bottom of the cliff. When he reached the bottom of the cliff, Wang Feng stopped the fighter plane and looked at them indifferently, because he saw the fighter plane arrived, and the Mulia people who were hiding in all directions said, "See? They are all here now. If you feel that this situation is not enough to punish them compared to death, I can grant your wish." Ha 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 ha. The man laughed. "That's it? That's it? Only in this way can we make up for their sins." After finishing speaking, the man suddenly looked at Wang Feng. "This, sir. I have a request. I wonder if you can satisfy me." "You say?" Wang Feng frowned and said. "Put me there. I want to watch them. See with my own eyes how they slowly die in fear and wailing." The man laughed crazily. "You don't have to be like this. I left a monitor here, and you can also see them slowly dying through the screen." Wang Feng turned around and looked at the man and said, "No." The man shook his head firmly. "I want to see it with my own eyes." Then, the man sighed softly. "Sir, although I don't know your identity or your name, haha. These really have no meaning to a dying person. However, I am still grateful to you. I can see that maybe your power is greater than Speaker Gauss Hixing. Although this is a bit exaggerated, I still believe this. But no matter what, no matter how powerful you are, you can't save me, so, just let me stay here. Being able to watch them die is already my greatest wish." Wang Feng looked at where the man was pointing. It was a raised stone on the mountain wall. Maybe it was because of the stone. There was a cave behind it, but the cave was not deep, only 5 meters. "About. Good." Wang Feng said softly, and then he flew the fighter plane to the top of the stone, then opened the hatch, and then he picked up the man again and brought him to the top of the stone. "Are you sure?" After Wang Feng put down the man, he looked at him and asked. "Haha. The environment here is not bad. At least, if it rains, I will have a place to hide." The man smiled and said, although the white bones below made him unconsciously feel fear, the hatred in his heart had already overwhelmed the fear in his heart. For him now, being able to see the Mulia people die in front of him is the biggest goal in his life. Seeing that the man had made up his mind, Wang Feng said no more. He came directly in front of the man, stretched out a hand and patted his chest. The man looked at Wang Feng in surprise, but he didn't speak or dodge. He was slapped by Wang Feng abruptly. In just a few breaths, this man's strength was upgraded to the enhancer stage by Wang Feng. Although he is only a first-level enhancer, at least when this man doesn't want to die, he can still rely on his own strength to return to the world he is familiar with. Although Wang Feng also knows that this man will never go up again, but at least he has done everything he can. The man felt the changes in his body and did not express much surprise. He just bowed to Wang Feng. "Thank you, sir. I'm afraid I won't be able to repay your kindness in this life. As for the next life, I can't guarantee it, because if I have a choice, I would rather be a beast in my next life. At least, I should be happy when I die. In response to the man's remarks, Wang Feng didn't say anything. He waved his hand directly and took out a batch of food from Xianyuan space, which should last this guy at least a year. No matter how much it is, I'm afraid it will rot due to the passage of time. So it's useless to keep it? Then, I'm leaving. Wang Feng looked at this man, and then at the Mulia man below. They shouldn't be able to come up. Moreover, with your current strength, even if they come up, you can still deal with them. You can even jump down yourself and kill a few Mulia people. The man looked at Wang Feng and suddenly smiled. Of course not. Why kill them? Watching them slowly struggle below, this feeling, at least for me, is a kind of enjoyment. Thank you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Wang Feng nodded. Your family, what should I? Ignore them, they probably thought I was dead a long time ago. The man knew what Wang Feng meant, so he shook his head and said. All right. Wang Feng nodded. Although it may be ridiculous to say this, but, take care. The man smiled. Yeah. Take care. Then, the man raised his head and watched Wang Feng's fighter jet disappear into the sky. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 813. When Wang Feng returned to Mulia village, Number 7 was listening to Lu Wanding's account of what had happened here before. Since Number 7 had just arrived, he was not familiar with the whole thing. After learning the truth of the matter, Number 7 also showed unusual anger. Although Number 7 was not a human being, due to his long contact with Wang Feng and the others, and during this period of time traveling around on the home planet, Number 7 also gradually integrated into the human world, and his personality slowly began to become more humane. After knowing the current situation of the Mulia people, Number 7 shook his head, seeming to be a little dissatisfied with the way Wang Feng dealt with these Mulia people. Because he felt that this treatment method was a bit too light. According to the crimes of those Mulia people, Number 7 felt that he should slowly drain their life force and let them experience the huge pain. Seeing No 7's expression, Wang Feng guessed No 7's thoughts, and in fact, Wang Feng also thought this method was good. However, it is impossible for Wang Feng to really adopt this method. First of all, he didn't want No 7's identity to be exposed. If the people on the home planet knew that Number 7 was not actually a human being, it might make them panic. Moreover, the scene where Number 7 sucks human life force is too cruel. In Atlantis, since it was the end of the world, it could be used occasionally. But on the home planet, if they really do this, once word spreads, it will definitely cause an uproar. Looking at the people who were like walking corpses, Wang Feng sighed in his heart. He understood that the lives of these people had been completely destroyed by those Mulia people. No matter what, they can't go back to the past and live like ordinary people. In this case, Wang Feng felt that it would be better not to wake them up, and simply let them live the rest of their lives unconsciously. Wang. Seeing Wang Feng return, Gao's Hixing walked over quickly, holding a tablet in his hand, and handed it to Wang Feng. Let's take a look. The response you want has already come out. Wang Feng took the tablet and looked at the page on it. What is displayed above is the official website of the Freedom Alliance, and the Mulia copycat incident is now displayed on the homepage. Because what happened in Mulia village was too shocking, even though this news was released not long ago, the number of clicks has already exceeded 500 million, and it is still growing rapidly. Wang Feng looked at the replies below. Most of the replies were condemning the murderousness of the Mulia clan and demanding severe punishment for the murderers. Although the fate of the Mulia people has been announced and accompanied by pictures of them in the valley, it is obvious that many people still think that such punishment is not enough for the Mulia people to atone for their sins. They believe that these Mulia people should be nailed to crosses and exposed to death in the sun just like humans did to criminals in ancient times. However, in the replies, Wang Feng also found many mothers' posts. They actually sided with the Mulia tribe and condemned the Freedom Alliance. No matter what mistakes people make, always give them a chance to correct them. Even the elderly and children are exiled to the valley. Isn't it too cruel? What do children know? They are all taught by adults. Those children should be let go. No matter what, the Mulia tribe should not be exterminated. You should find someone to guide them, let them know their mistakes, and give them a chance to change. Those children are so pitiful. I feel so sorry for them. It's obviously the adults' fault. Why do they have to be punished like this? It's not fair. Wang Feng saw thousands of posts like this, and one person even opened a topic with the title "The Freedom Alliance covered the sky with one hand, and the Mulia tribe was exterminated." Then he used tens of thousands of words to analyze the incident of the Mulia clan this time. Wang Feng took a casual look and found that this person's position was also on the side of the Mulia clan. He said that he had also traveled to Duoshan Mountain and had contact with the Mulia people. Moreover, this article also uses many complimentary words such as affable, warm, and hospitable to describe the Mulia people. In particular, in the article, this guy even guessed whether the Mulia tribe had offended a certain giant in the Free Alliance and suffered such misfortune. Haha. Amiable and hospitable. Wang Feng laughed and then looked at Gao's Hixing. On the home planet, don't people need to be responsible for what they say? Well, generally speaking, as long as it's not fraudulent information, we don't care much about speech. Gao's Hixing shook his head. Then, can we find these people? Wang Feng asked again. This works. Gao's Hixing nodded and said. Everyone who posts comments needs to pass identity verification, and we can find them at any time. This is to prevent anyone from publishing false information, deceiving, or inciting public opinion. Very good. Find the guy who posted this, bring him here, and let him get together with those hospitable and amiable Mulia people. Wang Feng's eyes flashed coldly and he said to Gao's Hixing. In addition, those who said that these children were so pitiful also found them, and gave one child to each family of the Mulia tribe. Didn't they pity those children? Say that the children are not guilty? Then it will be fulfilled now that they are well. I think they will be very happy, right? This. After hearing Wang Feng's words, Gao's Hixing hesitated. Those children, are they a little dangerous? I think they are somewhat aggressive. Yes. It's aggressive. Wang Feng nodded and said. But don't they say that children are innocent? Then let them experience it for themselves. But don't forget, let people spy on those children. If they want to harm other people, stop them. As for the family that adopted them, don't worry about them. Whatever fate they get is up to them. I found it myself. What I hate most is that because the person who is hurt is not myself or my relatives, I act like a saint and show compassion indiscriminately. I just want to see if they or their family members are hurt by these children. Will they still insist that the children are not wrong and they are innocent? Will they still use the sentence "children are ignorant, come and defend those children"? Old Gao. Don't think that I'm making a fuss out of a molehill. Although they just made some comments, it seems like there's nothing big wrong. But if this kind of thing is not stopped, there will be more and more people like this. I can tell you from my experience in the country I was in before that once there are more people like this, it will change the atmosphere of human society. Definitely not a good thing. Although you think that these people may just make an unintentional mistake and not fully understand the situation, so they make casual comments or even add their own guesses as they take it for granted. This is not a big sin. But when you know the harm of this thing, there is no way to stop it, because at that time, they were already used to this method, and they were also used to not understanding the truth when they saw something, then comment freely. When the citizens of a country are accustomed to venting all kinds of dissatisfaction, and grievances in life through the internet, what kind of environment do you think it will be like on the internet? And our next generation is accustomed to understanding this society through the internet. What kind of impact will this kind of negative energy speech have on them? After listening to Wang Feng's words, Gau's Hixing was stunned. Then he thought carefully for a long time, and cold sweat broke out on his head. Gau's Hixing had been sitting in the position of supreme speaker for decades, and he was certainly not a fool. After being reminded by Wang Feng, he easily figured out that what Wang Feng said was definitely not alarmist, but could very well become a fact. Go. Send people immediately to find all those who posted posts defending the Mulia people. After Gau's Hixing figured it out, he turned around and quickly said to the two officials in charge of the network. First find the guy who posted this post. As for the other people, just check their addresses first. When the time comes, we will send those Mulia children to their homes to satisfy their broad minds. The two people nodded quickly, then got into a car and drove down the mountain. These people. Wang Feng turned around and looked at the people who had lost their minds after being tortured by the Mulia people, shook his head slightly and said, take them down too. Send those whose families are still looking for them back to their families, and let the Republic of Kali give each family adequate compensation. After all, what happened here, they have indescribable problems. Shirking responsibility. As for the remaining people, let the Republic of Kali build a sanatorium to support them until they die. Yes. I understand. Gau's Hixing nodded and said. Are you leaving? Well. The matter is almost settled, what am I still doing here? Wang Feng nodded. That's right. This is for you. Wang Feng seemed to suddenly remember something. He took out something from Xian Yuan space and handed it to Gau's Hixing. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 814. Looking at what Wang Feng handed over, Gau's Hixing reached out to take it, then looked at Wang Feng, waiting for his explanation. What Wang Feng gave Gau's Hixing was a signal receiver, which was used to receive the signal from the monitor in the valley where the Mulia tribe lived. Although Duotian Mountain is a huge magnetic field, Wang Feng's monitor is completely unaffected by it. Take this back and install it on your computer. You can see the scene in the valley. Wang Feng said. Oh. Got it? Only then did Gau's Hixing react, nodded quickly, and then put the signal receiver away carefully. Number 7. Are you leaving by yourself or with us? Wang Feng looked at number 7 and asked. Let's get together. Number 7 said. It feels like you are in trouble wherever you go. It seems like I can live a more wonderful life by following you. Are you praising me? Wang Feng rolled his eyes, feeling depressed. Lu Wanting and Zhang Xiu couldn't help but snicker, and Su Mo even said directly. Yes. That's right. I think so too. Is this the halo of the legendary protagonist? Get out. Wang Feng was furious. The protagonist's aura should be one of luck and invincibility. Wherever he goes, beauties throw himself into his arms. Why is there so much trouble everywhere he goes? Oh. So you hope, that wherever you go, beautiful women will throw themselves into your arms. Lu Wanting suddenly said, the murderous look in her eyes made Wang Feng's asshole tighten. No, no. I didn't think so, I was just talking casually. Madman. Are you really just talking casually? Su Mo quickly added insult to injury. I remember that at the beginning, you said that the name of the consul Mr. Park Yishan was the dream of all men. Su Mo. Wang Feng glared at Su Mo. You dare to say that you haven't thought about it that way? Of course not. Su Mo spoke with awe-inspiring righteousness, and stern words, and with great righteousness. Just kidding, Zhang Xiu is right next to you. Of course, you can't admit this kind of thing even if you kill him. It's okay to add insult to injury, but you definitely can't follow the same stone. Humph. We'll go find Tessie's later, and I'll ask her to test whether what you said is true. Wang Feng snorted coldly. Okay. I have no problem. But, you also need to be tested together. Su Mo continued to be tough, but he didn't believe that Wang Feng dared to really go to Tessie's. Let's go, let's go. Upon hearing that Su Mo had dragged him into the water, Wang Feng immediately gave in and decisively ended the topic. Hey! Damn it! I really envy these guys. Looking up at the small fighter plane flying away, Gau's Hixing sighed with constipation on his face. Didn't Wang Feng say that everything here was left to him? Just give an explanation and then run away. You still have to do the rest by yourself. Gau's Hixing now feels that he, the supreme speaker, seems to be specially wiping Wang Feng's butt. But to be honest, Gau's Hixing is really happy to wipe this kind of butt. At least, Gau's Hixing now hopes that Wang Feng will be more troublesome, because only in this way can more darkness be wiped away. In fact, Gau's Hixing also wants to follow Wang Feng, but his face is so famous. I'm afraid if he follows Wang Feng, there will definitely be no trouble along the way. Hurry. Assemble the vehicles, take all these people down, and then clean up the items in the cottage. After shaking his head, Gau's Hixing turned around and gave orders loudly to his subordinates. Madman! Where are you now? Just as Wang Feng was flying a small fighter plane towards the hotel where they had stayed before, Meng Fei's voice suddenly came from the communicator. The reason why Wang Feng and the others wanted to return to that hotel was naturally because the RV they bought before was there. After this group tour, Lu Wanting and the others had lost interest in continuing with the group and felt that they should adopt the same method as before. It is more comfortable to drive a car by yourself and just play for a while to see what is fun. Although they solved a big cancer when he was with the group, Wang Feng didn't want to do it deliberately. If he encountered it, he would just take care of it. If he didn't encounter it, he wouldn't do it himself. Try to find. After all, there are too many dark places, and no matter what, we can't clear them all. Lao Meng. We are on a fighter plane now, what's wrong? Wang Feng answered into the communicator. Oh. It's nothing big. It's just our people. Now that the Chinese Empire has completely stabilized, they want to go out and hang out. I want to ask your opinion. Meng Fei said on the communicator. During this period of time, Wang Feng and the others were extremely carefree, playing around, while Meng Fei and the others were exhausted. The establishment of a country does not mean just issuing a statement and then holding a founding ceremony. National infrastructure, arrangements for government functional departments, transportation, communications, water and electricity supply, etc., all need to be operated by someone. Especially now that Duan Lei and other core members of the Hope Base are away, Meng Fei has been extremely busy during this period. Fortunately, the continent they took over already had cities, and people had just been evacuated, so there was no need to worry about infrastructure. Now, the main problem of the Hope Empire is that these people all came from the end of the world. Apart from fighting and killing, they only know how to farm. This is not a problem in the end of the world, but it is not okay in the mother planet. They must build some pillar industries of their own. Otherwise, there should be no problem for this generation or even their next generation, but what about the future? I have never heard of any country that can become strong just by farming. Now they have nothing to lack, because Wang Feng and others are still there, and the deterrent power of Yan Huang is not for show. but Wang Feng and others are going to the original star after all. What will happen after they leave? Although the survivors in the Hope Empire had their own expertise before the end of the world, and they were even the best in some fields. But don't forget that the technology of the mother planet is more than hundreds of years more advanced than Atlantis. So their previous skills are basically useless on the mother planet. Let's take the simplest example. If you open a paging station in this era, do you think you will have business? In the current era when electric cars are everywhere, will you make old-fashioned 28-inch bicycles and have a prosperous business? So, Meng Fei's problem now is how to develop people's livelihood. Meng Fei and Augustine and others have also studied this for a long time, and finally found helplessly that if they want to develop, they can only farm. There is no way. It is not impossible to learn the technology of the mother planet, but at least their generation is definitely too late. If they want to keep pace with the technology of the mother planet, they can only hope for their next generation. However, they do have an advantage, that is, crops. The plants they brought from Atlantis are different from the plants on the mother planet, especially when they left. These people, in order to leave a souvenir for themselves, almost all the plants on Atlantis were brought to the plantation of Yanhuang. Especially these plants, which are basically mutant plants, have a very high yield, and the flowers they bloom are also very beautiful. Compared with the plants on the mother planet, they have a great advantage naturally. Especially, things are rare and valuable. The plants they brought are not available on the mother planet. If they are launched on the mother planet, they must be very popular. In particular, because they are mutant plants, the fruits contain a certain amount of life energy. For those of them who have at least reached the strength of evolvers, it may not be of much use. But for the people on the mother planet, these are the best supplements. At least the effects can kill those so-called health products on the mother planet in seconds. Therefore, Meng Fei and his team directly set their sights on the plants on the Yanhuang. When Wang Feng left, he left the Yanhuang in the territory of the Hope Empire. Although Meng Fei and his team could not drive it, it was no problem to enter and exit at will. After selecting a place that is more suitable for planting in the territory of the Yanhuang Empire, Meng Fei and his team transplanted some of the plants in the Yanhuang, but in order to prevent the unexpected, they left a little of each plant and continued to plant it in the plantation of the Yanhuang. Meng Fei and his team have specially opened plantations in all their cities to grow these plants. Since they often did this kind of thing in Atlantis before, they were familiar with it and of course they quickly got on the right track. However, Meng Fei did not publicize it now. He planned to wait until the output reached a certain amount before starting to publicize it. Anyway, with Wang Feng's current status, this kind of thing should be very easy. At least, the Free Alliance will definitely help them with all their efforts. After this matter was settled, the allocation of personnel was naturally implemented soon, and those who were free began to get restless. After experiencing the end of the world, everyone cherished life on the mother planet, but in the Hope Empire, these people were coming and going, and they were almost familiar with them all. Therefore, these people thought of going to other countries to have a look. With Wang Feng, the hands-off shopkeeper, taking the lead, Meng Fei naturally had no way to refuse them, so he contacted Wang Feng and asked for his opinion. No problem. Let them go. Wang Feng answered very straightforwardly. But remember to tell them not to cause trouble or kill people at will when they are in other countries. This is the home planet, not our apocalypse. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 815. The reason why Wang Feng said this was naturally because he knew his subordinates quite well. Others may be able to stay calm, but the soldiers of the Hope Legion have long been accustomed to killing, especially since they are now on the home planet. It can be said that anyone can walk sideways on the home star. Especially now that Wang Feng has been wandering around the home star for so long, he certainly knows that there are many dark places on the home star. The boys like Wei Yi don't know the importance of it. If they strike too hard, they may die with one punch. Wang Feng was not afraid that they would be sued because of this. With the hope that all the warriors had exceeded the strength of 6th level creatures, there was no one on the home planet who could hurt them or trap them. But if this kind of thing happens too much, it will inevitably cause trouble, especially since they will eventually leave. Now that they have made too many enemies, it will inevitably bring hidden dangers to the people of the Hope Empire who will stay on their home planet in the future. Meng Fei naturally knew Wang Feng's worries, and he said directly, "I understand this, don't worry. I've already told them. When arriving in other countries, the first thing to do is to be familiar with the local laws. No one is allowed to violate the local laws. However, I guess that's all they can do. If someone really offends them, I guess they won't give them too much face." He. Hearing Meng Fei's words, Wang Feng laughed. "That's fine. As long as they are not at fault, there is no problem. As long as they don't take the initiative to cause trouble, it will be fine if anyone comes to provoke them." Ha 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 ha. Meng Fei laughed. "When you say this, I am even more certain that the Mulia tribe that is being uploaded on the internet was created by you, right?" Kindness. Wang Feng didn't hide anything and casually talked about the cause of the incident. As for the specific process, it was already explained clearly on the internet, and Meng Fei probably knew it too. "Okay. Then you can continue playing. I'll go tell those guys and let them out," Meng Fei said with a smile, and then cut off the communication. At this time, they had reached the sky above the hotel where they were staying. Wang Feng parked the fighter plane directly on the top floor of the hotel, then put away the fighter plane, and then the group returned to the 2 rooms they had booked before. Because they came back relatively quickly, the room had not been checked out yet, but Wang Feng and the others had no intention of staying here. They just took a short rest, checked out the room, and went to the parking lot to pick up their RV. Along the way, Wang Feng looked at number 7 and smiled from time to time, which made number 7 laugh inexplicably and thought he had flowers on his face. In fact, Wang Feng was just thinking that now that they have number 7, they have an extra free driver, so he doesn't have to drive himself. The group of people came to where the RV was parked, and Wang Feng threw the car keys to number 7. "Number 7. I'm single, so I'll leave the car to you." Number 7 had no objections to this arrangement. Since he was a devourer anyway, he didn't even need to sleep. At least there was no hidden danger of fatigue driving. After driving the car out of the parking lot, number 7 asked casually, "Crazy. Where are we going? Look at the map. The red ones are the places we have been, so as long as they are not red, you can drive wherever you want." Wang Feng said nonchalantly, they didn't have any specific goals anyway, they just go wherever they go. "Originally, I was staying on the home planet just to wait for Duan Lei and the others to arrive." After hearing Wang Feng's words, number 7 opened the map, then randomly clicked on a destination on a route they had never been to, and then headed there. Maybe number 7 is right. Following Wang Feng, you will always encounter a lot of trouble. The RV had been driving for less than 20 minutes and before they left the city, they encountered a problem. Number 7 was driving the RV and was driving normally on the road. Suddenly, he discovered that there was an ant in her 60s lying on the ground on the side of the road. The vehicles and pedestrians passing by were avoiding the ant, and no one came forward to help. Lu Wanting and Zhang Xiu, who were looking around boredly at the scenery, happened to see the situation, so they quickly asked number 7 to stop the car. Then the 2 girls got out of the car and walked towards the ant. "Little girl, be careful. She will blackmail you." Seeing that the 2 women seemed to be helping the ant up, a pedestrian on the road reminded them. Hearing his words, Lu Wanting and Zhang Xiu looked at each other, but did not stop. Seeing that the 2 refused to listen to the dissuasion, The pedestrian shook his head, and then took out his mobile phone and started filming. "Auntie, how are you?" Lu Wanting and Zhang Xiu helped the aunt, and Lu Wanting asked. "Ouch, my leg seems to be broken," the aunt said with a painful look on her face. "Let's go. Get in the car first, let's take you to the hospital," Lu Wanting said, and then she and Zhang Xiu helped the aunt walk towards the car. Although this minor problem can be cured by Wang Feng at will, but they don't want to be so conspicuous now, and judging from the look of the aunt, she probably didn't fall too hard, so Lu Wanting thinks it's better to send her to the hospital. All right. When they got to the car, number 7 started the RV directly and drove towards the nearest hospital to them. "Mom, what's your family's phone number? Let's call them over," Lu Wanting asked. The aunt named a number, and Lu Wanting dialed the number directly. Then, she told the other party about the aunt's situation and asked him to rush to the hospital where they were about to arrive. When they arrived at the hospital, Auntie's family hadn't arrived yet, so Lu Wanting and Zhang Xiu first helped Auntie register and then sent her for examination. As for the expenses, Wang Feng naturally helped advance the expenses. Not half an hour after the inspection started, Auntie's family arrived, and 7 or 8 people came at once. Seeing this formation, Wang Feng nodded secretly in his heart. At least from this aspect, this family was pretty good. Filial. Wang Feng has always been more sympathetic to people who observe filial piety, because he believes that if a person is not good to his parents, then it is difficult to believe that he will be good to anyone else. However, what happened next was somewhat unexpected by Wang Feng. When they saw Auntie's family coming, Wang Feng and the others were ready to leave. As for the money they had advanced before, they were not prepared to ask them for it. Anyway, for Wang Feng now, he was not short of money at all. But just as they were about to leave after explaining the situation, the aunt's daughter suddenly grabbed Lu Wanting. "Why are you going? Why are you going? Since you are here, Auntie will leave it to you, so of course we can leave," Lu Wanting said somewhat inexplicably. "TCH. You hit someone and want to leave? How can such a good thing happen?" the aunt's daughter screamed. "Give my mother a doctor first, and after that, we'll discuss how you should pay for it." "Are you sick?" Lu Wanting frowned. "Didn't I tell you just now that your mother fell to the ground and we passed by and took her to the hospital? Who told you that we hit her?" "Didn't hit." The aunt's son also jumped out. "Why did you send my mother here if I didn't hit her? Besides, she would have fallen to the ground on her own if she hadn't been hit. And you paid for the medicine in advance, right? You didn't even ask us for this before you left. You must have a guilty conscience. Don't even think about leaving if you don't pay for it today." With that said, a group of people surrounded Lu Wanting and Zhang Xiu, preventing them from leaving. As for Wang Feng, Su Mo, and number 7, they were ignored by them. "Okay. Just wait a little longer. Ask the aunt when she comes out." Lu Wanting looked at the ward where the aunt was being examined and said angrily. Seeing that they refused to leave, those people stopped talking, but still surrounded them, for fear that they would slip away. Moreover, there were 2 men among them. Seeing that Zhang Xiu and Lu Wanting were both very beautiful, they couldn't help but become lustful. They slowly moved closer to the 2 women, trying to take advantage of them. Of course Wang Feng and Su Mo saw these 2 guys, but neither of them was ready to take action. With Lu Wanting and Zhang Xiu's skills, they wanted to take advantage of them. Especially if Zhang Xiu's temper breaks out, haha. "I hope you 2 are okay soon. Fortunately, this is a hospital, so we don't have to run back and forth." Wang Feng and Su Mo looked at each other with smiles in their eyes, and at this moment, the 2 guys also took action. They didn't just come up to take advantage, but directly asked questions first. "Little girl, tell me what kind of car you used to hit my aunt." The guy who spoke seemed to be the aunt's nephew. It seemed that the aunt had quite a few relatives in her family. Lu Wanting and Zhang Xiu ignored these two guys and just looked at the door of the ward, because as soon as the aunt came out, the matter would be clear, and there was no use talking nonsense to them now. Seeing that they were ignoring him, the aunt's nephew narrowed his eyes, then stretched out his hand and patted Lu Wanting's body, as if to remind her that he was asking her a question. However, there was something wrong with the location of this guy's hand. He actually slapped Lu Wanting's chest directly. Crack. Ah! After a crisp sound of bones breaking, an earth-shattering scream sounded. The guy who tried to attack Lu Wanting's chest covered his limp right arm and knelt on the ground. It turned out that just when this guy stretched out his hand, Zhang Xiu, who was next to Lu Wanting, saw his action. Without thinking, he just struck with his palm and broke the unlucky guy's arm. Seeing that she actually broke this guy's arm, Zhang Xiu herself was stunned, and then realized that she was now on her home planet. She was used to fighting zombies or mutant beasts. Although she didn't use all her strength just now, although this strong man looked quite burly, he was just an ordinary person after all. How could he withstand her strength? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 816. However, since it was broken, then let it be. Zhang Xiu didn't plan to apologize. It was you who did it? Anyway, it was just a broken arm bone. It will heal in a few days after it is connected. For Zhang Xiu and others who have come from the end of the world, this is indeed not a serious injury. Okay. You hit someone, not only do you not admit it, but you dare to hit someone. The aunt's relatives were immediately furious and shouted. Call the police. Call the police. Hurry up and get the police. It's simply lawless. Security. Where are the security guards? Come on. Someone is killing people. Hearing the shouting of these guys, Wang Feng and Su Mo couldn't help shaking their heads. How did they practice killing people? But the two didn't go forward directly. Anyway, time was wasted. Just wait for the police and see how the police handle this matter. Maybe it was because we were in the hospital, so the hospital security showed up just as the chaos started. However, they were security guards after all. After seeing someone injured, they not only watched Zhang Xiu and Lu Wanting and told them not to leave, but also put the guy with a broken arm on a stretcher and sent him to the ward. Anyway, there were surveillance cameras in the hall, so there was no need to protect the scene. As long as the person didn't run away, it was fine. As for who was right or wrong, that was the police's business. The security guards were not responsible for that, and they had no right to do so. Not long after, the police showed up. Because someone was injured, there were 4 police officers in total. After arriving, the police behaved very properly. They didn't come to a direct conclusion about the aunt's relatives saying that Zhang Xiu and others had hit someone, because after all, the injured were still in the ward for examination and treatment. However, they handled the incident of injury at the scene directly, and the process was very simple. 2 of these police officers directly questioned the parties involved, that is, Lu Wanting and Zhang Xiu, and the remaining 2 directly checked the surveillance. It was bad luck for that guy. The purpose of the previous dirty hand was too obvious. Both the police and the security guards could clearly see that the guy's hand was intended to touch the chest. Since it can be determined, the next thing is relatively simple, but the result of the handling really surprised Wang Feng. It has been proved that the man was the first to molest, but in the end, both sides were punished. The man was not held responsible because he was injured instead of molesting. As for Zhang Xiu, she was responsible for the man's medical expenses, treatment expenses, and lost wages because of excessive defense. Zhang Xiu naturally would not accept this outcome. She believed that she was not wrong, and the facts were clear. The video surveillance also restored the original situation. In the end, she still had to pay compensation? What kind of thing is this? At this time, Wang Feng and the others naturally had to come forward. They couldn't just watch the two women arguing with the police, right? Mr. Police. I have a question. Wang Feng stepped forward and said to the policeman who seemed to be the leader. Since you already know that the man is molesting women, then, is it wrong for my friend to fight back? Shouldn't he be molested successfully, or even raped by him, and then call the police and let you punish them? Wang Feng was very impolite and his tone was quite aggressive. He didn't understand why there was the crime of excessive defense. When I was violated, I had to think about what degree of control I needed to grasp before I fought back. Does everything have to wait for the police to deal with it? Let's not talk about whether there is time to call the police. Let's say that when you come, the incident has already happened. Even if you punish the criminal, the harm to the victim has already been caused. How much effect can it have? Can you revive the unjustly killed? Or can you make the insulted girl forget her experience? Or can you make the parents who lost their children forget that they once had a lovely child? Sir. Excuse me. What is your identity? The policeman saw Wang Feng and Su Mo. Although the two were dressed very ordinary, they were policemen after all, and they still had good eyesight. Especially Wang Feng, as the supreme commander of the Hope Base, although he was young, he had experienced too much killing and bloodshed. In addition, it seemed that no one dared to climb over his head in the Hope Base. Now he naturally had a momentum of who else but me. So, the policeman intuitively felt that Wang Feng was not simple, so he asked about Wang Feng's identity first. Mr. Policeman. I am a friend of these two girls, and I think the question I asked you just now seems to have nothing to do with my identity, right? Any citizen should have the right to ask you this question. Wang Feng did not answer the policeman's question, but just said it neither servilely nor arrogantly. Well, what you said makes sense. Wang Feng's attitude made the policeman more cautious, so he thought for a while and said, in principle, when a woman is molested by others, she can fight back, but, since we have all watched the surveillance video, the man's hand did not touch the lady. So, his crime has not been truly committed, and his arm was indeed broken by this lady, but we will not pursue her for excessive self-defense, but only ask her to be responsible for the medical expenses of the people she injured. This should not be too much, right? Are you saying that if I want to kill you now, it won't be considered an assault on the police until I actually cause harm to you? Moreover, are you sure that you are executing it in accordance with the laws of this country, of? Wang Feng narrowed his eyes and asked. They are still in the Republic of Kali. Gau's Hixing probably couldn't imagine that after just experiencing the Mulia incident, Wang Feng encountered trouble again. Although Gau's Hixing still prefers Wang Feng to cause trouble, but this efficiency, I'm afraid he will be a little overwhelmed. After hearing Wang Feng's words, the policeman couldn't help but hesitate. In fact, the way they handled this matter was basically accepted by ordinary people. Although it was unfair to the victims, the two girls, it was handled this way. But their police trouble is the least. After all, the law has a certain scope of handling. An obscene case like this is not a major case. No matter how they handle it, there will be no merit to them. Therefore, the most trouble-free method is adopted, not to file a public prosecution, and to handle it as a civil dispute. This is already an established convention in their system. Otherwise, to file a public prosecution, they would have to prepare materials and bring the video to court. Except for this case, it would take at least a few days. There was no benefit to them, and of course they were not willing to waste time. However, the appearance of Wang Feng now made the policeman hesitate. He felt that Wang Feng was not an ordinary person, but apart from his temperament, the policeman did not find anything worthy of his fear. "Sir, let me just say this. My handling of this matter may not be fair, but if it is really measured according to the laws established by the Freedom Alliance, I am not derelict in my duties." The policeman finally made a decision that made him extremely happy later. He did not hide anything, but tried his best to explain to Wang Feng. He would definitely not dare to say more. Haha. It's not fair. If it's unfair, can it still be called law? Wang Feng couldn't help laughing, but before he could continue speaking, the ward where the ant who had fallen to the ground was being treated opened and walked out. "Doctor, how is the ant?" Lu Wanting quickly stepped forward and asked. "The patient's life is not in danger, he just needs to be hospitalized for a period of time." The doctor looked at Lu Wanting casually. Although he was a little surprised when he saw her, he quickly reacted, said something casually, and left directly. "Now that she's awake, go in and ask. See if we hit her." Lu Wanting turned around and said to the ant's family members, and then gave Wang Feng a look to indicate that he should stop talking. They are here to have fun, not to find trouble. Besides, they are not short of money now. Didn't they just spend some medical expenses? Just give it, save time. Auntie's family members all rushed into the ward, and even 2 of the 4 policemen followed her in. No matter what, they took over the case. Anyway, it was related, so let's record a confession together. "What? Afraid of trouble?" Wang Feng came to Lu Wanting's side and asked softly. "Yes." Lu Wanting nodded and said. "We came out to play, to relax. Anyway, we just spent some money. It's not a big deal. You are not in need now?" "Big deal. You are looking for your old man." Hearing Lu Wanting's words, the policeman who had spoken to Wang Feng frowned. Of course, he didn't know that the boss Lu Wanting mentioned was Gauss Hixing, the supreme speaker of their home planet. But at least they said they were not short of money. It made him feel that things were a little difficult to handle. Someone who is not short of money, at least in his position, should not be offended, so now the policeman only hopes that Wang Feng can follow Lu Wanting's suggestion and spend some money to solve this matter, saving his family trouble in the middle. "I do think so. But, some people may not want to let us go so easily." Wang Feng was about to speak, but suddenly he saw several ants' family members running out of the ward, so he sneered and said. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 817. Hearing Wang Feng's words, Lu Wanting couldn't help but be startled, then turned around and looked. Humph. What else do you have to say? My mother has already said that it was you who knocked her down. The ant's daughter rushed over and pointed at Lu Wanting and the others and shouted. What? Lu Wanting and Zhang Xiu asked in disbelief with their eyes widened. Wang Feng still had a sneer on his face. This kind of thing had never happened in Atlantis before, but after Wang Feng came to the home star, he learned about it on the internet. Such a thing was rare on the home star. Quite a lot. And there are many people who have successfully blackmailed her. This is why no one dared to help when the ant fell to the ground. It is because of this that Wang Feng has been seeing her until now. Wang Feng hates this kind of thing, but on his home planet, the laws enacted by the Freedom Alliance are not very strict in punishing people with such dark consciences, which makes this kind of thing quite serious. On the home planet, there is even a saying that if you are not a billionaire, don't help these old men and women, because you will go bankrupt. If they succeed, they can make a lot of money. If they fail, there is basically no punishment. Basically, they are given a few words of verbal education, and then they are done. It can be said that the cost of crime is quite low. After hearing what Auntie's relatives said, Lu Wanting and Zhang Xiu naturally didn't believe it, so they rushed into the ward and planned to confront Auntie face to face. Needless to say, The result was that as soon as Lu Wanting and the others entered the ward, the aunt pointed at them and insisted that it was Lu Wanting and the others who knocked her down. "Mr. Police Officer, we want to know. There are surveillance cameras everywhere now. Why don't we just call out the surveillance cameras? Then the truth will come out." Wang Feng did not enter the ward, but asked the policeman with whom he had communicated before. "Does this old lady say that we hit her? That means we hit her." "This." The policeman sighed, shook his head and said, "The section of road where your accident happened to be a blind spot in the surveillance. You couldn't see what happened, and the driving recorder on your car was not in working condition. Therefore, we can only make a judgment based on the testimony of both parties involved." "In accordance with." Wang Feng nodded. Wang Feng turned off the driving recorder. There were many secrets involved in their conversation. Of course, Wang Feng could not leave any listening or monitoring equipment in his car. "That means, we can only accept our bad luck?" Wang Feng asked with a smile. "Kindness." The policeman nodded and said, "If you can't provide conclusive evidence to prove that you didn't hit the injured person, I'm afraid that's it." Looking at Wang Feng's reaction, the policeman intuitively felt that this matter would not end so easily. Their conversation was naturally overheard by Auntie's family members. When they heard that Wang Feng's vehicle did not have a driving recorder, they all became happy because they knew that there was no monitoring at the place where the accident occurred. Now the person's car didn't have a driving recorder, which meant that they caught a fat sheep this time. After they discussed in whispers for a while, the aunt's daughter and son took the lead and came to Lu Wanting and Zhang Xiu together. They did not go to Wang Feng directly. They probably thought that the two girls should be easier to bully and asked them to, "If you lose money, maybe you can spend more time with me." Lu Wanting looked at Wang Feng and found that Wang Feng did not come forward. She knew in her heart that this guy seemed not to let these people go easily. But when she looked at the faces of the people surrounding her, she suddenly felt disgusted. She felt that it would be a good thing for them to be punished, so she asked calmly, "Okay. What do you want to do?" Hearing Lu Wanting's words, those people suddenly became excited. In their opinion, Lu Wanting and the others had admitted defeat. Originally, there was no surveillance there, and there was no driving recorder in their car, so what happened was not their final say. It's hard to come across such an opportunity, and if you don't make a good profit, how can you live up to your professional ethics? They got together to discuss it, and in the end it was the aunt's children who came forward and came to Lu Wanting and said, "Seeing as you managed to send my mother to the hospital and didn't run away after injuring her, we will take care of you. You don't need to bear other responsibilities, so just give us 5 million. 5 million? Is your mother a lottery ticket?" Before Lu Wanting could answer, Zhang Xiu sneered. "Now that the doctor has said that there is no big problem, you actually ask for 5 million. Little girl. That's not what they said. The doctor said there is no big problem if there is no big problem. My mother has the final say on this." The aunt's son stood up, looked at Zhang Xiu and said, with a flash of fierceness in his eyes. The guy Zhang Xiu hit just now was his brother. He had no intention of letting Zhang Xiu go. He was planning to make a move after Lu Wanting paid the money. What about Zhang Xiu's beating? If you mention the two things together, the other party may not agree to compensate so easily, so you have to do it one by one. They are all quite experienced in this kind of thing. According to her son's words, the aunt suddenly groaned loudly. "Ouch! My waist hurts, my heart hurts, my head hurts. Look! What's going on?" The aunt's son jumped up quickly, and then ran over. "Come here quickly, take your mother to get checked." Then, the group of people called the doctor and shouted that they had to have a good checkup to ensure that their mother's body had no hidden dangers caused by those perpetrators. After the doctor came over, he heard their request and looked back at Lu Wanting and the others. He knew in his heart that these guys were deliberately pitting the two girls. However, he didn't know Lou Wanting and the others, and the more checks he did, the more money the hospital would make. So the doctor didn't say anything, and directly arranged for the aunt to do the checks they asked for, regardless of whether the aunt needed these checks. Wang Feng did not react to this, and directly took out a card and gave it to Su Mo. "Old Su. You go and pay, tell them to do whatever they want, any examination is fine, even if it is a prostate examination, check the aunt carefully. The money will be paid by us for the time being." Su Mo took the card, turned around and followed him. Wang Feng showed a sneer on his face, then went to the side and took out his mobile phone. Looking at Wang Feng, the policeman looked back at the group of aunt's family members who were happily pulling the aunt to do the examination, and shook his head, knowing in his heart that these guys might have hit a wall this time. However, this matter is no longer within his scope of responsibility. Wang Feng and others cannot produce evidence to prove that they did not hit anyone, so according to the procedure, they can only deal with it this way. So, in any case, this matter cannot be regarded as their police dereliction of duty. Especially now that the policeman has felt that Wang Feng is definitely not an ordinary person, and now seems to be ready to take action. In this case, he is also ready to wait and see. After Wang Feng finished the call, he stood there and waited quietly. As for Lu Wanting and Zhang Xiu, of course they did not go with her to see the old lady for any examination. They also knew that this matter would be handed over to Wang Feng later. As for Su Mo, he went directly to the cashier of the hospital, pressed the card there, and then came back. He was not afraid that the hospital would cheat them of their money. Of course, it would be okay if they cheated, because it was not his money anyway. At this time, an unexpected person appeared in front of Wang Feng and others. It was the guy who persuaded them not to meddle in other people's business before. This person was about 45 or 46 years old, and he was dressed very ordinary. He walked into the hospital and saw the two policemen and Lu Wanting and others at a glance. "Hello." The man walked up to Lu Wanting and the others, nodded gently, and then asked, "Excuse me, what happened just now?" Lu Wanting smiled bitterly and said, "You are right, we should not meddle in other people's business." Then, Lu Wanting briefly talked about what happened later. After all, this man had reminded them before, so he was kind-hearted. The middle-aged man sighed, then looked at the two policemen, then raised his mobile phone and said, "Officer. I happened to be by their side when they happened. I took pictures of the whole process, which can prove that the injured person was not hit by them, they just wanted to help." "Boy. What did you say?" Although the aunt's family took the aunt to get a checkup, they still left two men here to watch Lu Wanting and the others. Although there were police here, Lu Wanting and the others were fat sheep in their eyes, and they could not let them run away anyway. Now, the two guys heard that the man actually recorded the process, and immediately waited with fierce eyes, staring at the middle-aged man fiercely and said, "I advise you to be careful when you speak, don't get yourself into trouble." The middle-aged man's hand holding the phone was a little stiff, but he still looked at Lu Wanting, Zhang Xiu, Wang Feng and others, and found that their clothes were very ordinary, so he said again, "The whole process is in my phone, which can prove that the injured were not hit by them." Do you want to live?" A man grinned, then reached out to grab the middle-aged man's phone. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 818. Crack. The middle-aged man was caught off guard. The big man snatched his phone away and threw it to the ground. Looking down at his broken phone, the middle-aged man was stunned. For a moment, he didn't know that he had changed the phone. How to react? "Boy. Get out of here and stay where it's cool. Don't make Grandpa unhappy." The big man who smashed his phone looked at the middle-aged man ferociously and threatened him. Bump. Before the big man finished speaking, a figure flashed past, and then the big man's body flew out and fell heavily to the ground. He fainted without even making a sound. This sudden situation stunned everyone present. Although the big man was not very tall, but he weighed at least 140 or 50 pounds, he was slapped and flew several meters away, and he fainted directly to the ground. Looking at the teeth and blood on the ground, everyone couldn't help but tremble. How strong must this person be? At this time, Wang Feng was standing in front of the middle-aged man. He looked at the bewildered middle-aged man, smiled and nodded to him, then turned around and looked at the policeman coldly. "Mr. Police Officer, this man just said that he brought evidence to prove our innocence, but he was threatened by that guy in front of you, and even broke the evidence in front of you. Could it be that, shouldn't you give me an explanation? Besides, even if he is an ordinary person, if someone robs other people's property and destroys it in front of the police, but the police does nothing, is this considered dereliction of duty?" Seeing the anger in Wang Feng's eyes, the policeman couldn't help but tremble. This matter is indeed the police's dereliction of duty. No matter what, if someone robs other people's property in front of the police, no matter what the reason is, the police cannot ignore it. And the reason why he didn't stop him just now was because he was too into the drama. He had already sensed how extraordinary Wang Feng was, so he felt that he should have a good show to watch, so he became an audience on the side. When the guy reached out to snatch the middle-aged man's mobile phone, he was still thinking in his heart, "Wang Feng, what the wind will do." He had completely forgotten his identity. Now when he heard Wang Feng's words, he suddenly realized that he was a policeman and was still wearing a uniform. Such a thing happened in front of him, but he didn't react at all. Such a thing, no matter what, is a serious dereliction of duty on his part. What's more, since this middle-aged man is a witness, he is also protected by the Witness Protection Act. The policeman was covered in cold sweat. From Wang Feng's eyes, he understood that his negligence this time might have brought him a big trouble. Seeing his boss being accused, the policeman behind him was not happy. He did not have the vision of his boss, and did not notice any difference in Wang Feng, although he also knew that they were indeed at fault in this matter. "But just now, my boss did not stop the guy from smashing the evidence, which shows that these people may have something to do with his boss. They want to cover up such a big deal. For them, the police, it is simply not too easy. Simple. Just go to the monitoring room in the hospital lobby and clear the part where the guy grabbed the phone." Although they made too much noise and attracted many people to watch, most people only saw Wang. That scene with Lord Feng, and even if other people saw the guy snatching the phone, as long as the police came out with an official statement, would anyone dare to come out and correct it? Therefore, the policeman thought that his chance to stand out had come. "Sir, no matter what that person did, you should not hit him." The policeman came out and pointed at Wang Feng and said, but just halfway through his words, a slap fell on his face. Crack. The one who beat him was actually the police chief he wanted to please. "Don't you have eyes? Didn't you see that man threatening and robbing? You didn't care when someone was robbing something, but you blamed the person who stopped him? Are you still a policeman?" The police chief cursed loudly. The beaten policeman covered his beaten face with an aggrieved look on his face. "You were in front just now, didn't you care? You don't even care. How can I, a follower and a soy saucer, dare to take action?" But he didn't dare to say this. The first level of officialdom was overwhelming, and he didn't want to wear small shoes in the future. "I'm sorry, sir, I was distracted just now because of, so, this is my dereliction of duty. I will check it thoroughly when I get back." After beating the policeman turned around and saluted Wang Feng with a military salute and said solemnly. Looking at the look in the eyes of the police chief, Wang Feng nodded slightly. It could be seen from this guy's eyes that he might have been really distracted just now, but Wang Feng definitely didn't expect that he was letting this policeman the reason for Totu's distraction. Moreover, from the fluctuations of life energy in the policeman's body, Wang Feng could feel that what the policeman said just now, whether he was blaming his colleagues or speaking to himself, was all sincere. Although Wang Feng does not have the kind of superpower that Tessis does, for an ordinary person who cannot control the fluctuations of his life, it is not difficult for Wang Feng to tell whether what he says is sincere. Well, I believe you did it because of negligence. Wang Feng nodded, but did not return the greeting to the policeman. The military salute on the home planet was no different from that of Atlantis. Maybe they were all passed down from the ancient human race. You remember? Wang Feng stretched out his hand, pointed at the national emblem inlaid on the policeman's hat and said, "You'd better remember that when you salute in the future, think about it in your heart first, whether you can be worthy of the national emblem on your head." The policeman was stunned for a moment, and then his body seemed to become a little stiff. Then he gently took off his hat with both hands, turned it around, looked at the national emblem coldly, and then took a deep breath. Stood at attention towards Wang Feng, and nodded heavily. "I see." After saying this, the policeman shouted directly into his walkie-talkie. "Police number, 82,491 requesting support. We need more manpower and support from the technical department. We need to extract evidence from a broken mobile phone. The location is Boeren Hospital. In fact, sometimes, the police cannot fully uphold justice. It's not that they don't want to, but that they don't have the ability. Either go with the flow, or be abandoned directly. In certain circumstances, some policemen who insist on justice will be ruthlessly eliminated because they block the interests of certain people, and their fate will naturally shake the mountain. Roll." Over time, other people gradually became numb and no longer persisted. When their ideals conflict with their own interests, they have to bow to reality. They are unable to change the environment, so they can only change themselves, or destroy themselves. At this time, another person left behind by the injured family member finally realized what he was doing. He looked at Wang Feng, then at the police, and then at the people who had almost completely surrounded the hospital hall because they were watching the fun. The crowd suddenly shouted loudly, "He's beating someone! Look, everyone, someone is beating someone, but the police don't care. Is this any more lawless?" Wang Feng narrowed his eyes and looked at the man. "What? You still want to hit someone? There are so many people watching. If you do it, no one can protect you." Seeing Wang Feng's expression, the man couldn't help but subconsciously take a step back, and then pointed at Wang Feng and shouted, "Bump." Wang Feng ignored his words and directly stretched out his arm and slapped the man away again. Humph. The police only care about beating people, but beating animals, why should the police care? However, it was obvious that the man had no way to answer him, because like his companion, he fainted. Seeing this situation, Wang Feng couldn't help but shake his head slightly. These two guys looked quite strong, but their bodies were still really weak. He didn't use much strength, but he still made them faint. At this time, the aunt's daughter separated from the crowd and rushed to Lu Wanting. There were two people behind her. She directly handed a piece of paper in her hand to Lu Wanting. "See for yourself. This is the cost of 1 day's inspection." Huh. He also said that we want more. If you don't give it, we will do this every day in the future. I want to see how long you can hold on. Lu Wanting took the piece of paper, but did not lower her head to look at it. Instead, she looked at the woman in surprise. How big is this woman's heart? Their people were beaten, and for so many people, and she didn't notice. Are you coming here to deliver the bill arrogantly? Wang Feng took the bill directly from Lu Wanting's hand. After looking at it, he suddenly laughed happily. Doctor. Who is the doctor in this hospital? Did you issue this bill? Come and confirm it. Hearing Wang Feng's cry, a doctor who seemed to have been waiting for a long time came in. Without even looking at the bill, he said directly to Wang Feng. That's right. We opened it. The money has been deducted from your card. You just need to sign. 850,000. Wang Feng smiled and said. Only the total price, what about the details? Shouldn't I know what my money is used for? The details are for the patient's family, you have no right to see them. The doctor was quite tough and refused Wang Feng's request directly. Anyway, we have already deducted the money. It is impossible to refund it. It doesn't matter whether you sign or not. This is just a procedure. Is this a hospital or a black shop? A voice suddenly came. None of your business. The doctor turned around and said disdainfully, then his eyes widened. Meeting, Mr. Speaker. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 819. This voice came from Gao's Hixing. Of course, Wang Feng had contacted him directly just now. After receiving Wang Feng's call, Gao's Hixing also shook his head. He really hoped that Wang Feng would cause him more trouble, but this frequency seemed too fast. It's just been a humming day, and the Mulia clan's affairs haven't ended yet, and now it's happening again? But since Wang Feng had already said it, of course he would not come, so he hurried over with his people. Unexpectedly, as soon as he walked into the hospital lobby, he heard the doctor's arrogant words. Gao's Hixing was immediately furious and spoke directly. Seeing Gao's Hixing, the doctor suddenly became speechless. He sat down on the ground, his mind almost going blank. Sir Speaker. The policeman stood up to Gao's Hixing, but did not salute. Kindness. Gao's Hixing looked at this policeman a little strangely. He was just the lowest ranking leader among the police. When he saw him and knew his identity, he just stood at attention. Old Gao. I told him before that only if you think you are worthy of the national emblem on your head can you be qualified to use military salutes. Seeing Gao's Hixing's doubts, Wang Feng smiled. Oh, Gao's Hixing nodded and couldn't help but look at the policeman again. Wang Feng was willing to speak for him, which proved that the policeman seemed to be pretty good, so he nodded to him and then walked towards Wang Feng. However, although Wang Feng explained to the policeman was extremely shocked. Lao Gao. Are you calling the speaker? And it seems that the speaker is very used to this title. The policeman shook his head and smiled bitterly. Although he had just discovered that Wang Feng's identity was unusual, he never expected that he could be so powerful that he could be called Lao Gao, the actual leader of the planet. He had no idea what Wang Feng's identity should be. Especially Wang Feng is still so young. Arriving next to Wang Feng, Gao's Hixing first greeted everyone, then gestured to the people on his side, and then asked. Wang. What happened this time? Wang Feng directly told what happened. While Wang Feng was speaking, the aunt's daughter and the doctor didn't even dare to fart, and stayed aside honestly. Not to mention that Wang Feng just told the truth about what happened, even if Wang Feng exaggerated their crimes, they would never dare to speak now. Wang Feng's loud voice not only shocked the policemen, but also let them know that they might have dug a big hole this time. After hearing what Wang Feng said, Gao's Hixing couldn't help but open his eyes wide and looked at Wang Feng in surprise. Well. Seeing Gao's Hixing's expression, Wang Feng shook his head helplessly and sighed. He looked at Gao's Hixing with some pity and asked. Lao Gao. Do you think I've made a fuss out of a molehill this time? I can solve this kind of thing with just a phone call from you, right? Kindness. Gao's Hixing nodded. He did not deny it. To be honest, He did think so now. For such a trivial matter, even Park Yushin would find it a big deal, let alone him, the Supreme Speaker of the Freedom Alliance. Seeing Gao's Hixing nod, Wang Feng didn't waste any time. He took out his tablet, clicked on it, and pulled out a few pages for Gao's Hixing to see. Gao's Hixing looked at it and saw that all the news displayed on it were some news. Of course, the time might be a long time ago, and it was directly searched by Wang Feng. There is no other news displayed on the page. Either an old man fell down and died because no one came to rescue him for a long time, and he lost the opportunity to rescue him. Or it was news about someone who was blackmailed for helping an old man. In Gao's Hixing's eyes, this kind of thing, where a person died or was blackmailed for tens of millions, didn't seem to be a big deal, but he didn't say anything and just looked at Wang Feng. Wang Feng finally fixed the picture on the tablet to a picture of an old man lying on the ground, surrounded by countless people watching, but no one came to rescue. The old man finally died because of ineffective rescue efforts. The doctor said that if he had been 10 minutes in the morning, he would not have died. When the doctor arrived, the old man had been lying on the ground for more than half an hour, at least 10 minutes. Wang Feng looked at Gao's Hixing. In other words, he didn't have to die in the first place. Do you know who killed this old man? Hearing Wang Feng's question, Gao's Hixing looked at Wang Feng in confusion. You. Wang Feng said with certainty. Lao Gao. You are the murderer. Wang Feng pointed to the ants family again. And they? They are accomplices. Gao's Hixing was stunned. That's right. Do you think this is a small matter? Wang Feng said. Look at the comments on this news. They say that this old man died because of people's indifference. There were so many people watching, not to mention that they came to help, and not even the police were called. Why? Do they want to save phone bills? No, because they are guessing whether this old man is a liar and waiting for someone to help him so he can blackmail him. When people say the world is indifferent, why are people indifferent? Because there are too many examples of people being blackmailed because of their good intentions, so they don't dare and can only choose to be indifferent. I have seen several cases of blackmail that were exposed. Basically, they were all let go after being given a warning. Why? Because they are old people, the police dare not arrest them. If something happens to the outsider in prison, they will be afraid. I still have to take responsibility, so I'll just give him a verbal warning and let him go. If you succeed, you can blackmail tens or even millions. If you fail, you will just be warned. With such a low cost of crime and such high profits, even I want to do a few orders. And the laws of the home planet were enacted by your Freedom Alliance. So, do you think you killed this old man? If all blackmail cases are punished with heavy fines and heavy sentences, and all cases of blackmail disappear, and those who fall are the ones who really need help, I can't do it? Among so many people, no one is willing to lend a helping hand. It's not that they don't want to save. It's that they don't dare to save. Old Gao. Those who use people's kindness to deceive and blackmail must be severely punished, because they are destroying the trust between people and destroying the kindness of mankind. I believe that most people have a share in their hearts. Love. When just putting in a little time and energy can save a person's life, I think many people should be willing to do it, but when doing this, he may face paying huge compensation. I believe many people will retreat. Good people are rewarded. This is a saying left to us by our ancient predecessors, but this saying has now been obliterated by your inaction and the greed of these people. Good people don't get good rewards, they get injustice. Bad people don't get bad rewards, they get benefits. This is the fundamental reason why this world is becoming more and more indifferent. You only think that beating and killing people is sinful, but I feel that what they are doing is destroying the humanity of people and dragging our lives into an era where our own affairs are nothing to do with others. Such people, he is the one who deserves to be killed. Wang Feng's long words caused the entire hospital hall to fall into a long silence. Everyone, including Gau's Hixing, seemed to be deep in thought. Good. Unexpectedly, the first one to react was the middle-aged man who came to deliver evidence to Wang Feng and the others. Snap, snap, snap. He clapped his hands desperately, and then thunderous applause broke out in the entire hall. Those who were watching the excitement were also flushed and clapping their hands excitedly. Wang Feng is right, no one wants to be called a cold person, a heartless and unloving person, but they are helpless. It's not that they don't want to, it's really that they don't dare. Everyone has his own family. Once he encounters blackmail, it would be better if he could find evidence to clear himself up. But if there is no evidence, then his family may encounter a devastating blow early because of his kindness. Therefore, in the face of similar things, they all choose to wait and see. They are not indifferent, they are just protecting themselves. After a while, Gau's Hixing slowly raised his hand to stop the applause. He saw someone videotaping the scene, but he did not stop it. Sir. Thank you. I want to know why you came to deliver evidence. Gau's Hixing looked at the middle-aged man and asked. From the middle-aged man's behavior, he felt that this middle-aged man was a man with a story. It's very simple. Mr. Speaker. The middle-aged man smiled, his eyes full of desolation. Because, they also blackmailed me, in the same place, with the same plot. I originally had a small company and a happy family, but because I was, just like them, I helped support that ant. Moreover, I don't have the ability of this gentleman, so I can't call you to come and seek justice for me. So, I lost everything I once had. Because I saw that they were dressed very ordinary. Although they drove a big RV, most of these RVs for travel are rented. They are good people. I don't want them to be like me and get into trouble because of their kindness. Trouble. So I recorded the video and sent it to them. Having said this, the middle-aged man looked at Wang Feng and the others. The most important thing is that they are still young and have a long way to go in life. If they really get the same experience as me this time, I am worried that in the rest of their lives, they will lose the kindness they originally had. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 820. Abandoning their original kindness. The middle-aged man's last words made Gau's Hixing shudder. He suddenly realized that it seemed that this matter was really not something that Wang Feng was making a fuss about, but that he had slighted the issue. As the Supreme Speaker of the Freedom Alliance, Gau's Hixing has always considered big things. Coordination between countries, development of science and technology, prevention of cosmic ghosts. Seeing Gau's Hixing's expression, Wang Feng patted him on the shoulder. Old Gao. I know that on such a big planet, it's impossible for you to take care of everything. So, what you have in mind are all big things. Have you ever thought about what a big thing is? The people are the cornerstone of society. Their affairs are the big things. But as ordinary people, what they encounter in their daily lives are all little things, but if you do these little things well, you will have a good social environment and atmosphere. These are what the people want. They don't care much about what materials are on other planets, and they don't want to know whether there is water on Mars. Because that has nothing to do with them. They just want to know whether it will rain tomorrow, whether there will be traffic jams on the road, whether I can find my lost wallet, whether the money in my bank account will be inexplicably missing. And when they can buy something. Get a house. This is the most practical issue for ordinary people. If you think that there are too many trivial matters like this to handle, why not let them manage it themselves? For example, if a thief appears on the road, anyone involved in catching him will be rewarded, or witnesses who take the initiative to submit evidence will also be protected and rewarded, and criminal behavior will be severely punished to increase the cost of their crime. As long as this kind of law is set up so that good people have no worries and bad people find out that they will become street rats when they commit crimes, then there will naturally be fewer bad people. Severe punishment. Gau's Hixing looked at Wang Feng. What about these people? Gau's Hixing was naturally referring to the aunt who blackmailed them and her relatives. He wanted to hear Wang Feng's opinion and give him a reference on how to sentence them. Wang Feng glanced at the aunt's daughter, then at the doctor, and sneered. I think they have done a lot of this kind of thing. I don't know how many victims there are like this gentleman. Aren't you guilty of fraud? This should be implemented according to the crime of fraud. Actually, if I were in your position, a guy like this who not only makes no contribution to society but can only waste food and harm others, I would just kill him. Without them on the home planet, it will be better. Wang Feng said at the end, his words were filled with murderous intent. However, after all, this is the home planet, so Wang Feng did not do it himself. In his opinion, this kind of scum is not necessarily much better than the Mulia people, but the Mulia people it was direct killing, but they were only indirect. But people like them are likely to be more harmful to society, because they will not only change the lives of those who were blackmailed by them at the time, but will even affect other people who know about it. As Wang Feng said, they have contributed a lot to society's indifference. Seeing that Gau's Hixing was still thinking, Wang Feng didn't bother him. This was the home planet anyway, so the final decision still had to be made by Gau's Hixing. Lao Gao. I'll leave the matters here to you, just watch and deal with it. Wang Feng handed the receipt in his hand to Gau's Hixing, then winked at Lu Wanting and others, and walked out of the hospital. Gau's Hixing naturally had no objections to Wang Feng's departure. What Wang Feng said to him today greatly impacted him. He was wondering whether his governance ideas should change the direction. Moving in the direction of people's livelihood. Even Gau's Hixing didn't speak, and naturally the others wouldn't stop Wang Feng and the others from leaving. So, Wang Feng and the others started their journey again. A few days later, Wang Feng found some changes made by Gau's Hixing on the internet. First, those who participated in blackmailing them. Under Gau's Hixing's supervision, this gang that had always relied on blackmail as a way of life was completely destroyed. These people were not just the ones Wang Feng saw, but also the doctors at the hospital and the insiders in the police station. Everyone who participated in this gang was found out. Wang Feng was right. The person who was framed by them was indeed not just the middle-aged man. There were more than 20 cases that were investigated, and the amount ranged from hundreds of thousands to millions. In addition, because they happened to be knocked down and were regarded as models by Gau's Hixing, most of them will spend the rest of their lives in prison. Wang Feng didn't say anything about this result. To him, these people were just small figures and not worthy of his attention at all. If it hadn't happened to hit his head, Wang Feng might not have bothered with it. However, Wang Feng did not expect that his action would drastically reduce the number of fraud cases on his home planet, because Gau's Hixing subsequently promulgated a law to include such cases within the scope of economic fraud. Within the period, once discovered, regardless of whether the blackmail was successful or not, the sentence will be based on the amount of blackmail at that time. Including those who deliberately get in front of other people's cars, pretend to be hit, and ask for money, which are called touching porcelain, are also classified as this type of crime. Gau's Hixing even added a new rule to the law: if a person is injured or killed because of voluntary collision, once confirmed, the car owner will not bear any responsibility. As soon as this new rule came out, the people were quite excited. In fact, the one who fell on the ground and was blackmailed after being helped up was more distressing. Because the technology on the home planet is advanced and the people's lives are relatively wealthy, almost every family has a car, and private cars are also the main means of transportation in every country on the home planet. These gangsters give all drivers a headache, because they can't take precautions and crash directly on the front of your car. Even if the police are called, even if it is found out that they are gangsters, they often can't solve the problem. Yes, and a waste of time. Therefore, most drivers have no choice but to consider themselves unlucky and spend some money to send them away without calling the police. Now, no matter how much money they want, even if it is just a few hundred, as long as the driver calls the police, not only will the offender be imprisoned for at least half a year, but the driver will also receive corresponding rewards, so the time lost will also be lost. The police confirmed that the company would not impose any penalties for being late due to this. This makes drivers who encounter troubles basically choose to call the police. This can not only punish those who want to get something for nothing, but also make themselves a fortune. Why not? And because of Wang Feng's reminder, Gauss Hixing changed many laws and increased the penalties for various crimes such as fraud, robbery, and theft, which were originally low-cost crimes. Some even caused serious consequences, even if it was just theft. Might get the death penalty. As soon as these laws came out, those who originally relied on these industries to make a living suddenly felt that the end was coming. Because there have been many cases where people just stole some money, but found out that it was life-saving money that people used to send to the hospital, so they were shot directly after being arrested. There are also cases where people were defrauded of all their hard-earned money through internet fraud, leading to the victim committing suicide. In the end, he was sentenced to intentional homicide and executed. These guys are stupid now. How do they know what the money they stole or defrauded is used for? Moreover, if the foreigner went too far in his deception, and the victim could not bear the blow and committed suicide, it could be regarded as intentional homicide. The cost of committing a crime is too great. In the past, the most they could do was stay there for 2 years and spend some money to get out. That's why they are so bold. But now Gauss Hixing has made up his mind to thoroughly crack down on crimes in this area, so that those internal connections who dared to take their money and open some backdoors before have now cut off all contact with them. Just kidding, you can make some extra money, but now all fools know that this is supervised by the Supreme Speaker himself. As long as it is a crime in this area, they will not dare to touch it. Otherwise, once exposed, they will definitely be treated as a typical example. Therefore, within a period of time, the social security on the home planet has become quite good, and Gauss Hixing's public approval rating once broke his own record. Looking at this, Gauss Hixing couldn't help but shake his head and smile bitterly. He didn't expect that Wang Feng, a young man in his early 20s, could see this thoroughly despite himself, an old fox who had been in this position for so long. In fact, this is not entirely Gauss Hixing's fault, nor is it that Wang Feng is better at management than Gauss Hixing. It's just that Wang Feng comes from a commoner background, so he is better able to understand what the people at the grassroots level need. This is something that Gauss Hixing, a member of a wealthy family from a parliamentarian family, cannot appreciate. Even if Gauss Hixing wanted to understand the suffering of the people, he would not be able to truly understand it. Even if he went to the people in person, his route would definitely be arranged in advance. This is absolutely true. Not to mention deliberately whitewashing the peace, this is absolutely necessary from a safety perspective. Whenever a disharmonious scene occurs outside, and someone who is not afraid of death even scolds Gauss Hixing or even slaps him, that would be ridiculous. No one dares to take such responsibility. But Wang Feng could just look at these things casually. After all, this is not what he cares about. What he cares about is when Duan Lei and the others can reach their home planet so that they can start their journey to the secret realm.